Thank you, David Livingston.
Thank you.
And Karen for the hand clapping. Now, musical instrument. Okay, so what lies behind us and what lies before us is a tiny matter to what lies within us. And that's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To be a star, you must shine your own light. Follow your own path. And don't be afraid of the darkness, for that is where the stars shine the brightest. Anonymous. No one has ever tried and failed in conscious cooperation with the universe itself. Ernest Holmes. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Walt Disney. You are indeed the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. It's from Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. If we knew who walks as us on this path we have chosen, fear would be impossible. Course of Miracles. I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. And doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. That's from Joseph Campbell. Someone has said that courage contains genius and magic. Face the situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face. It falls away of its own weight. Florence Scovel Shinn. And so we have one more. The future, but this one's by Eleanor Roosevelt. We want to do this one. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. We all have dreams. All of us. We all have dreams. Do we believe in them? Carol Mayo's reading this morning was so perfect. From fear to faith. Do we believe? Do we have the faith in them? Those were powerful statements by Emerson, Ernest Holmes, Walt Disney, Jesus, Course in Miracles, Joseph Campbell, Eleanor Roosevelt, Florence Scovel Shinn, and the most prolific of all, Anonymous. So all of those statements, every one of those statements, support our theme today and for this whole entire month. Who would you be if you knew that you could not fail? Part 1 this week. Part 2 is next week. Each week this month, then, we will explore and experience the depth of who we are, the truth of who we are. Let's do it together. Let's really explore. Let's take an honest look. And we'll also go into what it means to live from the place, that place in today's ever-changing world, from the place of really believing we could do whatever we want if we just would believe that we won't fail. So each month we're laying those building blocks of spiritual truth, which is Barry so perfectly stated. Miracles take place when we have those tools of really believing in spiritual truth. It happened, and we've seen it happen a lot. Those building blocks of spiritual truth will build that solid foundation from which we not only stand firmly, but from which we can each soar into a God-ordained, divinely inspired, spirit-driven life that we came here to live. We did. We came here to live these exciting, powerful lives. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge accomplishment. It's believing in what makes your heart sing. What is your dream? And then just following it. Just following it. Believing in it. Believing that there's no failure in God. Who would you be if you believed that you could not fail? Just put that in the equation. It's a thought-provoking question. If we really knew the very depths of our being, that we are here to be God, as God in us and as God as us. We are divine beings of light. We are divine beings. That is our eternal truth. We just have this human form and human experience that we came here to have. So there is no such thing as failure in divine mind. That's the concept for us to hold on to. There's no such thing as failure in divine mind. So how could we move forward? How would we show up in our actions, our interactions, and our relationships? How would we show up? Who would we be? So just in case there are a couple of you out there who might have doubts and think this is a bit of a big leap, a big jump, possibly a Grand Canyon-sized hurdle, to say, I know at the depth of my being that failure is not an option. Let's back that up a bit this morning then and ask these questions instead. How can I move toward knowing that failure is not an option? Because we really want to hold that in our consciousness, don't we? Yes. I do. Do you?
Yes.
Good. And in the process of moving into that knowing, who would we become? So how can we move forward then? So we have two manners. First, bear with me with my voice. It's spirit moving through me. So however it comes out, it's coming out. We're not keeping it in. So first is acknowledge, but don't feed the fear. Acknowledge it, but don't feed it. When we are considering how big we want to play in the world, fears come up. They come up, and it's important that we acknowledge them, because moving past our fears then can really only happen if we confront them. Face forward, head on, face the fears. It doesn't do any good for us to deny doubt. When doubt persists, it's there. Acknowledge it. It doesn't do any good to deny when fear strikes. We cannot move toward the God-ordained, divinely inspired, spirit-driven life that we came here to live if we ignore the turmoil that is inside and it looks in experiences outside. It's happening. So acknowledge it. We can't ignore it and push it under the rug. It doesn't do us any good. So when we become aware of it, we stand then at that choice point, the choice point, a critically important choice point. What do we do with those fears? We all have them. We all have them. Do we dwell on them? Do we feed them? Or do we starve them by turning our focus elsewhere? And there is an old American proverb that tells of an Indian brave who approaches his chief, I like this one, and says, I feel like there are two dogs inside of me, a good dog and a very bad dog. And I'm so afraid the bad dog will win. How do I know which one will? It's very, very easy to know, the chief said. Whichever one you feed will win. So when you are stepping up, playing in that bigger arena, think of expansive dreams. Think big. Think of expansive dreams that are within you. They're within you. It is when you think of moving away from a situation in life that feels oppressive, or a way of being where your light is diminished, or when you are dealing with a diagnosis. This is when all of this turmoil and fear comes up, and we just acknowledge it and know that we're not going to feed it. It's not the dog we want to win. When you think of those things and get scared, which is an absolutely normal human response. That's why we're here. Do you acknowledge those feelings and then move on? Or do you acknowledge them, invite them in, have them sit down, and invite them for a 7-course dinner? Sometimes we do. What gets nourished with your attention grows what? You feed with the energy of your thoughts, and they become the experiences of your life. What are we thinking? What are we making up in our minds? Are we making up the good dream? Or are we living in the place of fear and doubt? Well, not for me. Everyone else maybe, but not for me. So are you feeding your dreams, or are you feeding your doubts, your fears, or your fulfilled life? If you regularly feed your fears, you will not live the life that you came here to live. So quit feeding them. Quit feeding them and feed your fulfilled life then by developing your faith, your belief, your trust that the universe really is here to support each and every one of us. That's the truth. Whether we acknowledge it or not, it is the truth. And so the second part is replace fear with faith. So on the majestic entrance to a European cathedral is carved, fear knocked at the door. Faith opened it. No one was there. It's the power of faith. Fear isn't real. It sure feels real. Man, does it feel real. Clouds your head up so much you can't even think straight. Our part is to be ready and willing to be guided into truth and liberty. Spiritual truth. It's the same for everyone. All doubt and fear must go. And in their place must come faith and confidence. For we shall be led by Spirit into all good. All good. The book of Matthew contains a powerful story that I'm sure most of you might have heard about or read on fear and faith. Peter and the 11 disciples of Jesus, all experienced sailors, they were all sailors, they set out on the Sea of Galilee, which is only 7 miles wide, which is not a huge body of water. But during the crossing, a howling storm blew in, sending great waves crashing against their boat. Soaking wet, the disciples were stuck in the middle of the sea, fearing for their lives. When they spotted Jesus walking toward them on the water, at first they thought it was a ghost, but immediately Jesus spoke to them. Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. And frankly, they were all pretty afraid. Come on, I would be too if I saw, this guy walking across the water to my boat, which is being slammed against by all this water. So, but Peter, the bravest of the bunch, answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. So Jesus said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But then he saw the wind of turmoil. This wind was howling. It was boisterous. And he was afraid, and he recognized that he could sink. He cried out, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when he got into the boat, the wind ceased. There are many interpretations of that story. And some people believe that the message is that if you lose your faith, not only does Jesus scold you, but you could possibly drown. You could sink underwater. Perhaps the true meaning, though, is deeper than that. When we are trying to stay afloat in a rocking boat, which is what we cling to, thinking we'll be safe, sometimes something greater calls out to us. It's not stable, right? We're hanging on. This isn't like stepping out onto a sidewalk. You're being called to step out where you cannot see, where there is no solid ground beneath you. That's stepping out in faith, because you don't know. And when we don't know, we get scared. Peter, however, fed his faith. He fed his faith. He said, "Lord, it is you. Command me to come to you." At that point, he totally had faith. He asked his Creator for direction, just as we invite divine guidance into our lives. We talk about divine guidance from Spirit, from God. Jesus replied, "Come to me." Focusing on Jesus, Peter then was able to put one leg out and then the other, and he did walk on water. Then the Bible says he saw the wind. He saw the wind, and it was boisterous. At that moment, Peter fed the fear of drowning more than his faith in Jesus, and he starts to go down. Just like any of us sink when we're overcome by fear, because it can really do a number on us. There are two more key points to that story that are often missed. One, Peter immediately asked for help. He asked for help. He called out to Jesus, and instantly Jesus responded. When you begin feeding your fear, ask for help. How many of us don't? And I'm in that boat too. How many of us don't? That boat, literally. It's like a boat. The Spirit of God will not hold you back. It will not hold itself back. It will give you all that you truly desire. It will be there. When you ask authentically, really having the faith. That's the important part. Remember Ernest Holmes, this is a quote from Ernest Holmes. "We shall be led by Spirit into all good." Not only reach out to God, which is the first thing that we want to do, but reach out to one another. Reach out to one another. And later this month, we will explore the power of reaching out to others. And two, we tend to forget this point. For a few moments, at least, Peter did walk on the water. He did walk on the water. He didn't lose his faith for those few seconds. But remember that he was the only one out of 12 that was willing to take that chance and get out of the boat and do it. His willingness to move beyond where he sat demonstrated a faith beyond that of his companions. Peter walked on the water and was forever changed. He stepped out of his fear and onto a plane where he was kept afloat by the power of his faith. Peter did not fail. He did not fail. He moved one step closer to his true self. Any of us have done that. We've stepped out in faith. We've all done it at some point. We've stepped out in faith. And it's a powerful thing to do because we don't go backward. It might look like sometimes in our mind, making it up, that we're going backwards. We're not. We're going forward. Now come back to dry land then and imagine your own intention for an expanded life is being challenged by fear. Imagine that. Look at those fears. You have to acknowledge them. Can't ignore them, they exist. But take a look at them. How can you replace them with faith? That's what you want to ask yourself. You want to really deal with this thing. It is an illusion, but it doesn't feel like an illusion when fear comes up. What lies, remember this, what lies behind you and what lies before you is tiny matter compared to what lies within you. That's so powerful from Emerson. So powerful. To be a star, you must shine your own light. Follow your own path and don't worry about the darkness. That is where the stars shine the brightest. Beautiful. That's unknown. You cannot try and fail when you are in conscious cooperation with the universe itself. That's Ernest Holmes. All your dreams can come true. You just have to have the courage to pursue them. Walt Disney. Remember, he said it all started with a little mouse. Look what he built. He followed his dream. He followed his dream. And there were many looked like failures, but they were stepping stones towards his great achievement and the joy that he brought to millions of us. You are indeed the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. From Matthew. If you knew who walks with you on this path that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. From the Course in Miracles. Follow your bliss. Love that. And don't be afraid. The doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. And that is always the truth. Is it not? Things take place that you could not have possibly planned. The outpicturing of the universal mind is always there for all of us, each and every one of us. Someone said that that courage contains genius and magic. Face a situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face. It falls away of its own weight. Did you ever notice that? That's by Florence Shin. Did you ever notice that? Falls away. These conditions change. They change. They don't stay. But that burning heart, that essence of divinity within you is permanent. It's permanent. It's there. It's always there. So remember, my friends, remember that trust and faith in this universal presence, this support, completely overcomes and casts out fear. When you go back to remembering that there is a divine energy that is supporting you, that is backing you, that is always there for you. Peter did not fail. He moved one step closer to his great self. So I'm inviting all of us to remember that we are God-ordained, divinely inspired, spirit-driven beings of the light, and we are here to live the life that we were meant to live. And I believe that we're doing it. I do believe that, so it is. Part 2 is next week.